So a lot of people they don't like looking at themselves in a photo, and they don't like hear themselves speaking, and they don't like watching videos of themselves. And I remember years ago when I didn't like who I was because I wanted to be somebody better, I could never see or hear myself. And so many people, they always like look at every photo and they keep retaking them and retaking them. And it's like I look at you as that same person in every single picture, but you see different things about those photos that only you see. And I think it's very powerful to put photos of yourself around your house so all you can see is yourself until you learn to love yourself, seeing so many different sides of you, and then you can then put family members in. But putting yourself in photo frames all around the house, whilst you're in the bath, taking a shit in the kitchen, on the couch, forces you to see who you are from a perspective that you don't otherwise see. You see yourself from in going out, but you see yourself out going in, which we don't normally see. But it's a way to face who you are.
Yeah, that's an interesting way of seeing it. I'm totally 100% in agreement with you, because most people, they are very kind to others, but they're very, very mean to themselves. So when they're taking pictures, when they are receiving compliments, it's like a sin. They shouldn't be actually receiving them. They shouldn't be saying thank you to themselves and being kind to themselves. So yeah, I agree with that. Taking pictures of yourself all over the place, it is you battling that inner war inside of you and deciding all of those shitty beliefs, all of those misleading beliefs that you have been growing up, because it's priming. We have been primed that way. For example, for women, you should look a certain way. You should be a certain skinny type of woman in order for your picture to be beautiful. Or for a man, you need to always look bulky and manly. You're not allowed to be vulnerable. You're not allowed to show emotion. And all of those you get to deal with for the rest of your life if you don't take time to say no. It's no longer the case. And I am who I am, and I'm embracing that right now without even waiting for any change, because change starts from now. So that's a beautiful technique that you mentioned, and I love that.
Yeah, so many people that if somebody doesn't like themselves, it's often because they heard things that weren't nice about themselves by other people. So that vibration, that thought, that sound just replays in your head all the time, just as if you had a really positive mother saying, "You're fantastic, you're amazing at everything." All you're going to do is replay that saying, "I'm great, I'm so amazing," and it makes you feel good. So when you understand that it's not you as a person, there's nothing wrong with your nose, your ears, your weight, whatever. It's just you're relaying the sounds around you, which happen to be negative. If you were in a positive place, they'd be the complete opposite. And that's nothing to do with you, and yet that you hear that in your head thinking it's you, and it's just the sounds of your environment. So that is very powerful, especially when like so many women, they get like nose jobs and boob jobs because they hear or feel the pressures of how they should be, or somebody isn't beautiful because they've got a bit of weight or whatever. There's no norm of anything. There's no perfect
Mhm.
nose shape, lip shape, weight. Say if you eat too much, you're going to put on weight. There's no definition of this or that. It's just there's loads of plants, many different species of plants, many species of fish, many types of humans, and that's the end of it. And yet you go online and you see this business model type image of what people should look like. And you said men have to be macho all the time. I always say, if you look at a female lion, she nurtures and loves those cubs. But as soon as a big lion comes along to fight the cubs, she becomes a male version of a lion and she fights the
Mhm.
male. And it's like, well, if women are supposed to be the weaker ones because the men are bigger in like animal kingdom, surely she shouldn't be able to do that. And if you flip it round, a man has had to be nurtured and loved by its own mother. It's had to surrender and the mother provides. So men are supposed to be big and nurturing. The female lion is supposed to be nurturing and defending. What does that say? We're made up of force and attract, made up of like feminine and masculine. There's no such thing as men have
Mhm.
to be masculine and women have to be feminine. It's fucking load of
Absolutely.
nonsense.
That's true. I couldn't say any way better. And especially the fact that you mentioned, it's just about perspective. It's about where you grow up as a culture, as a society. Because when you go to certain areas of Africa, women who are overweight are the standard of beauty. That's the norm in there. And because they have been growing up that way, if a skinny girl comes in, she's going to live what probably in a modern world an overweight girl will be living. And there are in some communities, females are the leaders of the family. So it's all about perspective. Of course, what's dominating social media and what's dominating TV and news and everything that is portrayed on an international level, it's dominated by the modern world, which its criteria, it's what we get to see all the time. So it's all about perspective. It depends on how you were primed in your family. How did your parents decide they want to see you as a citizen of this world? And then you're going to be growing up. So, of course, I'm not saying that priming is the only way for you to be in a certain way. You could reprime your mind. It just takes commitment, and it takes the fact that you really, really want to become someone who's going to model there is no norm. I am my own norm. I am unique my way, and I am able to share it with the world. And not everybody is able to do that. So it's interesting to see how the world is shifting lately, especially in social media and news all over the world. They're trying to get into those small niches because now they see the world is trying to be more open, and they even taken advantage of those to get more income out of that, or try to make the horizon a little bit bigger, which is a little bit promising. At least we have more models to say of, and to say, okay, my kid is going to have so many things to see in front of them instead of having just one model all the time growing up.
Yeah, if you like, it's like the reason why men used to dominate is because the bigger the animal, the more you can fight off other animals, male or female. If you're smaller in size, women often are smaller in size, you can fight them off, so you lead. But really, a leader is about wisdom. Who's got the most wisdom to guide us through, like, the storm, or to get us to the next place where there's food, to get us to the next
Mm-hmm.
stream, to the next river, So really, it comes down to wisdom, and wisdom can be any male or female. It's just who's it come down to, the male or the female. You go around the world, different tribes, you say. It's like a lot of governments are run by men, but you go around the world, small tribes, other countries, the leader isn't necessarily a male, it's just the person with the
Mm-hmm.
most wisdom. So you go to like the African tribes, whatever, the woman has like the most power and the wisdom, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone follows. It's not about the men have to be in control because they're the bigger the animal, because it's just a natural thing to follow the wise person. It's nothing to do with size. Like, I believe that apart from like chemicals in our body, like estrogen and testosterone, the brain of a male and the female is exactly the same. It's like a white paintboard, and then if you paint that one, it's going to be painted. If you paint that one, it's going to be painted.
Mm-hmm.
So we all are started from scratch, and we have our natural instincts of mating, eating, sheltering, needing water, and that is it. Apart from that, it's a learnt trait of how to do something. And so, apart from the way we look, breasts and the cock, whatever, it's just a clean brain, and whatever you put on there becomes that thing. And we're exactly the same, apart from the chemical level, because obviously women give birth and men do not. So yeah, apart from the chemical imbalance, it's exactly the same.
Yeah, that's totally true. Everybody has a role to play. And if only we were understanding, and I like to call it a pandemic, the pandemic of judgment and expectations. Everybody looks at you and they have already a judgment. Even before talking to you, they already made a pre-made idea of who you are just from your look, just from the way you speak. And we don't trust the other as someone who can bring us value. And I guess that what happens in elections, and females trying to take leading situations. So usually what people do is, okay, I have already this judgment about a woman. She's going to be so emotional in leading positions. Or if there is a male who's gay and people are going to be expecting, no, whenever he's going to be leading, he's going to be just trying to make sure that his community is getting the best. So taking off judgment and expectation from the table is going to open to a beautiful white map that you get to color in every single color possible. It's not going to be just white and black. It's not going to be just gray. It's not going to be just certain colors. It's really, really going to be colorful. I have this beautiful colored painting in front of me done by my nephew, and it's inspiring me right now. Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of the time, it's, as I said, goes back to the earlier days of the bigger the person, the more they can fight off. It happens
Mm,
to be the man. Man gets into power. The man's friends with other people, so he puts them in charge because he's friends. And let's say men are often friends of men, women are friends of women. So now you've got like a
mm,
whole government of the same because that's just what it is. Like you invite your friends
yeah.
and then they all have positions. And then, so now you've got like men just taking over because men gave positions of power to their friends, which happen to be men. And what's happening is that because we are all equal, men are shitting themselves in power because they are seeing that women can do as a good job, if not better, and they're scared. So they double down, they use force, and they try and push these people away. Whereas a man,
Mm,
they can't do it because a man will just be like, get the fuck out my way or fight them, right? Whereas
mm,
it's like a woman won't just go up and punch a man in the face to give me a job. So they have to use other powers and other things, often unfair. Because if you go through the correct system, then they've got an equal chance and they're probably going to win. So you have to be go out the box. As I said, a man will just be like, give me a punch in the face, and I'll go on then. But yeah, there's definitely a change in everything, like governments and just the people, because everyone's becoming aware that there's no hierarchy at all. Like you need a leader, which is often one in charge, which seems like a hierarchy, but really we're just all on the same path. And there's too many humans on the planet that governments can't lead. One person can't lead 300 billion people, right? It's
mm.
just not possible. So it's amazing what's happening. It's like I call it a big bang in human form, where too much energy
Love it.
comes together, and then boom, and there's stardust everywhere. There's different tribes, different religions, gay, lesbian, black, trans, vegan, fucking
Yeah.
like it's just painters and music people. It's
Everything.
just everywhere. Like it's just
Yeah.
loads of small tribes.
Yeah, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because I am in background an industrial engineer, and I grew up in Morocco, which is in northern Africa. And in my family, my priming was that you are not entitled about anything, and you go work hard, fight for yourself, you get your position. But when I went out to the society, it was like a battle between what I was growing up in my society, which did not expect an engineer as a woman. And I remember that I had a very, very hard time at the beginning to prove myself. But once I did prove myself and a company decided to hire me, even then, they knew that I was probably even outperforming other male engineers. I had the lowest salary and I was the least appreciated for my efforts. And then I decided, okay, probably it's just the society that I grew up in, and I decided to move to Canada. The reason why I moved to Canada 4 years ago, and to my own surprise, then I understood that it's a pandemic worldwide. It's not about a certain society. It's not about the more developed countries are having that equal status. No, it's the same shit. It's just colored in a different way. When you go to a different country, you see unbalances in a different way. So it's really interesting to say that it is a big bang, because now worldwide you see that everybody wants to change, and the situation is not challenging or problematic in a certain area. It's all over the place, and it is about time that it changes.
Yeah, that's the thing. It doesn't make sense, right? When you put, say, when a company has a job opportunity open and you put on the
Mm,
website, this is the role, this is the salary. When you apply, they don't know who's going to apply, male, female, fucking
mm,
tiger or a lion, right? You don't reduce the salary because, oh, this is a female. By the way, we said 15 grand, but it's going to be 14K. It doesn't make sense. If the role is done the same way, why would you lower the salary? It doesn't make sense. If, for example, the man can bring in more money because, for example, things need to be lifted, and the more you can lift, the more
yes.
money you make, then pay the man more. If the woman can't do as much, that's just business, right? But for the same
Yeah.
job, especially on a computer, that doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. That seems to be a society's way of saving money of what's accepted, which isn't illegal. It's like morally, you should be like
Mm-hmm.
this, even though illegally you don't have to be. It's almost like I'll get away with what I can because I'm a businessman, I need to save money. Um, See that doesn't make sense. But as you said, it literally is a stereotype of what can you get away with without it affecting things. And if people aren't cheaping up and saying this is ridiculous, then you're going to get away with it. And everything starts to rise like the Me Too movement. And now you can't get away with it because now so many people are aware. They're focused on you. Like if you pay that person less, we're going to be on you. If you try to be flirting with a female, we're going to be on you. Whereas, you know, as you said, different countries, it's just the norm to do something until enough speak out. Now you are aware you can't reduce a salary, but it doesn't make sense why a woman gets paid less for the same damn job. That just doesn't make sense.
Not at all, not at all. And I like to even see it after, when the big bang happens in a certain environment or company, or as you mentioned, the movement Me Too. Lots of people now, in order for them not to even get into that conversation, it's like there is a tension between male and female. And I noticed this, especially in here when I came to Canada, especially in the province where I am, the Quebec province. It's a bilingual province. And it's really interesting to see that the interaction between male and female is it has a lot of tension in it, because guys, men in general, know that it is so easy. It's becoming even easier for women to charge for harassment now, and that their voice is heard, that they are really, really careful about everything they do. Don't get me wrong, I love that. I love that men are more aware and they don't take anything for granted, but it shouldn't be total extreme from yes, we can do anything to no, I don't even want to communicate with this person. And then I understand that it's all about education, because we put so much attention to what happens now when the person is a grown up, but it starts from very, very early ages. Once again, it's all about priming. So if you take care of both the girl and the boy within a family, and you educate them to just act from kindness and from love, all of that will go away when they grow up, because they will have plenty of years to be primed to something good, instead of, okay, you need to only play football, and if someone bothers you, go and hit them, or some stereotypical sentences, that one.
What came to my mind, right, when I said, you know, how I don't understand why women get paid less, what came to my mind is this is the possibility why. Imagine you put a job out there and the salary is like to be negotiated or to be discussed or whatever. Men are more taking charge. They'll be like, look, I want this. And the man says, the boss owner says, we're going to give you 15K. He's got more confidence. It's easier to speak to a man, whatever. I want 17K. And then he goes, okay, fine. Whereas a woman, for example, is sitting in the chair and he's negotiating the salary. And then she's like, well, I'll be happy with this. It's almost like the female doesn't believe that they are worth as much as they are, or the man will say, so how about we start you on this? If you say okay, it's not that he's paying the female less, it's just that the man, when he says how about we pay you this, would say, actually, can you give me this? Whereas a female, for whatever reason, confidence, whatever, will be like, yeah, okay, that's fine. That 2K difference, yeah, that's fine. She didn't have the balls to negotiate back. So maybe it's not necessarily men purposely trying to find ways to pay women less to save money for the business.
Yeah.
It's just that a man will charge back and say, give me more. Whereas a woman, for whatever reason, will just sort of be, okay, that's fine. And then as years go on, your salary stayed the same and you've not negotiated. And as time goes on, companies change, industries change. The average salary for, say, an accountant is, rather than 30K, it's 35K. So now 5 years later, he now pays an accountant 35K. He's an accountant in an office with an accountant who was hired, say, 5 years ago at 30K. So he's not going to be like everyone from 10 years ago, I'm going to all pay you 5 grand more because that's the going rate now.
No.
Okay. It's like you
Yeah.
have to negotiate yourself. Like you have to be responsible for your own shit. So now you've got the female on 30K, the new guy 5 years later on, the new woman 5 years later on, all guy on 35K. It's like, well, you're paying me 35K and I'm a bloke. You're paying her 30K. And it's like, well, first of all, you've got to understand that years and years ago, that was the going rate. Secondly, she didn't negotiate. She could negotiate, but as a business person, I'm not going to be like, okay, guys, you want a pay rise of 5K, because that's not how it works. So it's many, many factors. It's not just women are getting paid less or whatever. It's so many factors. People are so quick to blame and judge.
True.
There's so many factors involved. And it just simply comes down to be responsible and go out and get what you think you are worthy of, male or female.
Yeah, exactly. And I have witnessed that so many times, so many times. Since I grew up in a family in which I needed to negotiate even my time of speech. I grew up in a family of 7 siblings, sisters and brothers. So of course I needed to fight for even speaking at the dinner table. And this was so funny because when I was negotiating once, and I'm a fierce negotiator, the HR, they were a little bit disturbed. She's a female, and she comes from practically the same background as myself. And I kept on negotiating. I was like, look, I have other offers. I know that you can do better. I know what I'm worthy of. And I know how valuable everything that I'm going to bring to your company is. And she told me, okay, I'm gonna see with the VP and everything, and I'm gonna get back to you. And I knew that amongst all the candidates they have, they wouldn't find someone who's going to be given more than I am willing to give, because I was new, I was hungry, and I knew I'm going to give more than 100%. And then she called me the day after saying that it is interesting. We have never gone all the way to this salary with a new engineer, newly graduated engineer. I was like, well, it depends on what you are looking for. I'm not your typical newly graduated engineer. I have so many things that are done. Probably you don't consider them valuable to you, but I know they will be of value to your company. And then she started laughing, but she didn't say anything. I get recruited eventually after a month. We became friends, and she was like, "You put shit on the VP's pants because he knew that he wanted you in, but he was really, really not comfortable seeing someone who's fiercely negotiating, even though there was a guy, like a male presence, who actually was as equally good for the job as myself. But the VP was just intrigued. He was like, I need to have her, even though he's as good as she could probably be good for me in the company just because of that skill. So I totally understand you when you say it's not about what the company is willing to give or not. It's more about what you are willing to ask. Ask the good questions and you shall receive.
See, that's fucking amazing. Like,
Yeah,
I'm a company's worst nightmare because I just take charge. I can do the job better than any manager, any VP,
love
any
that.
president, any founder. Like, it works both ways. Putting somebody like myself or you, who could easily run it, okay, at a bottom level, it's good for the people above when you're following and in line, right? Because you can get on with it, you lead, you take charge, you've got initiative, you're
Yeah.
doing their job, and you're bringing in money because that's what it comes down to. Those guys will happily, the VP or whatever, would have happily paid you the extra salary because every single person a company brings in, another person, is making them X amount of money. So as long as you are bringing in the money, they can make
Mm-hmm.
room for the extra, say, 5 grand because you're making that money back. So it doesn't matter. The salary is just the basis of, okay, we're going to make X amount, pay this person X amount. We might not make this much, so we've got a nice profit margin still. But if they pay you more,
Yeah.
and if you're going to bring in more, fantastic. But yeah, it's interesting because if somebody is in command, then you're a dream for your salary with your experience of a CEO level, fantastic. But the minute you want a pay rise, the minute you see something wrong, the minute you just go up the ranks and walk in the office and sit down with the VP and tell him how it is on the same level, we are their worst nightmare because they don't know
Very
how to
true.
handle someone on the same level who's in a different rank below, but you know they're right, and you know
Yeah.
that they're responsible for the shit you're bringing up to them, and their hands are tied. And I used to work at a restaurant for a big company, and I outranked all the manager levels, even the regional manager, because it was my first part-time job. And I should have never worked
Yeah.
for anyone. I never planned to. It's just I shut my business down when I was
Yeah.
enlightened, and I had to get a part-time job. And I could run the whole fucking company. Like I saw them all at parties, regional manager, manager above there. I'm like, bloody hell. I could do your job.
Yeah.
I'd become better than you. I could take over the whole region. I know all the problems I could take over. We're their worst nightmare. But yeah, it's interesting how you were saying that because the VP, it's like somebody seems threatened. It's like, no, I want to see this person because no one's ever done it, especially because she's the female. Like, who is she? Like, what can
Mm.
she offer? You're in trees. Yeah, it's fascinating. It really is.
Yeah, yeah. And to be honest, that what you just explained happened later on because when I was in and in the meeting tables, people have that fear of hierarchy. And I was like, no, we all want to have a certain profit. I want to have my bonus by the end of the year. So I am going to come to the meetings prepared and I have something to say. And that created tension because he saw someone who's like in the same level as him, probably as you explained it. And that created very, very much tension to the point that he never was able to speak to me the same way that he's probably needing to go and look after his leadership a little bit. I'm not criticizing it or whatever, but he kind of felt a little bit threatened to the point that he stopped speaking to me directly. He stopped giving me projects directly, and yeah, we eventually understood that I am meant for something more than that. So not just that. Yeah, that was interesting.
Yeah, so it's like imagine you have a pyramid, right? As you got the pyramid, you need to be stronger in energy, more mature, more knowledge,
Mm,
more leadership, right? That's just how it works. The one guy at the top and the point of the pyramid can handle or manage everyone below. The people at the bottom of the pyramid, you need more people on that level because every time you go up, there's less people,
mhm,
right? It's all about the mindset. Just because you are in a management position doesn't mean you can manage. Being able to manage people is about feeling you are more wise than that person below knowing that and admiring and respecting what you say. If you've got
mhm.
somebody above you, like in my case, where the managers are just people at the bottom who've been there for so long that they become a manager, and someone like me who should be running the whole damn company is below you, you don't feel the same authoritative figure. You can't tell that person what to do. You can't tell them what to do. Like your boss tells you what to say, but when you're facing that person and the eye contact, and you know that he knows you could be running your job better than me. You feel intimidated. And as you said,
Mhm.
he has to go through somebody else to tell you what to do because you can't look at that person in the eye where you know they should be running the job that you're doing because they can do it much better. It's an energy power thing, not power man and women. It's an energy of my vibration is stronger than yours. I can handle me, but you can't handle. No, you can handle me, but I can't handle you. So they look away. They can't hold eye contact because the eye contact's too strong. The person at the top can handle eye contact. The person below isn't supposed to be able to handle his eye contact. So you surrender like a snake, like an animal staring at a snake in the animal kingdom, like they put in a hypnotic trance because and it
Very
weakens
true.
them. It's all to do with the balance of energy. And as you go up to the top of the company, you should have higher energy, which is why Trump he's just getting everything he wants because he's got so much energy. He doesn't give a shit how China is, Kim Jong Un
Well,
is.
that,
He doesn't give a fuck.
yeah,
He's like, look, this is how it's going to go. Russia needs to be below America. China needs to be below Russia, above America. He's just doing
yeah,
it, and he can handle all the energy because he is at the top in terms of energy. Whereas Obama before is all about friendly and banter and I'll let you
yeah,
do your job, and there's no leadership. People take advantage, and that's just what happened.
yeah. Oh, that's beautiful. That's beautiful to mention it that way because it doesn't matter what certification you get. This is not about an education you get in any university or an education you get in any school. This is definitely an education about managing your own energy and getting it to a higher level of 100% total belief in yourself and in your process and what you have to offer. So I love the example of Trump because a lot of people tend to give hate and everything. I was like, it's just someone. It does not matter if he does things that you are conformed with or things that you like. He doesn't care. He doesn't care if you like it or you not. You don't. He only cares about his energy. And to him, to himself, he is 100% true to what he's doing. He's not doing anything behind the scenes. I am saying it out loud to the big leaders of the world. I am the big leader. It is no longer the place for you guys. And I like to see that. Sometimes it happens even when you get to see people in a certain company, someone who's really, really not doing anything related to management, and you get to see that fire inside of them. That's energy. That has nothing to do with I am in position of manager or not. And you see that they take initiative. They're always certain about themselves. They're always outgoing. This is the education everybody needs to get into. Work on yourself, work on your own energy, and understand that when you put yourself in that position, don't wait for anybody to put you there. You get what you want. Of course, I'm not saying going crazy, crazy, but when you believe in yourself and you get into that energy, everything is possible. Yeah.
Yes, so the pyramid structure about how the one on top has to have more. So, for example, right, you've got different layers. The one on the top essentially has to be as heavy as the one at the bottom because it keeps
Hmm.
all the pyramids from essentially floating up. Imagine, for example, I believe that all the pyramids were made in the water because you think about how is it possible to put all these pyramids above each other? If you think about if it was all underwater, you get a stone, you move it along with your boat, and you drop it down, and the weight above that one pushes the weight on the pyramid below, and you keep like moving all the pyramids and you guide it from the top of the ocean towards the bottom and it keeps it down. Like otherwise, how are you supposed to lift all these big fucking heavy rocks one above, like to the height of that? So it would make sense how it was all underwater, hence why the weight from the one above is keeping it down. So the top one essentially has to keep down fucking millions of tons of all the ones below, but it somehow manages to do it. How? Because it has bigger weight. So the leader is the one who's supposed to be the one who can handle all the energy of everyone below, so they admire
Hmm.
them, and all the other pyramids alongside of them, aka different countries and leaders. The bigger the pyramid, the bigger the weight on the top needs to be able to put in place all the other pyramids around. And so it's the same for structures of companies. As soon as you see somebody at the top who is lower in energy than somebody below, out of rank, for example, it should be going 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. If it's 6, 7, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, company's going to go bust because you need that pressure, that respect, that authority, that superiority, the energy, the eye contact, the fear of if I don't do this, there's going to be trouble. And the great leader can just say it with a smile on their face and look you in the eye,
Hmm.
and you know that if I'm not saying anything, I'm doing my job. Don't think that you can just go and get away with stuff because just because you're not hearing from me doesn't mean I'm not aware and I know exactly what's going on. But the minute you do something, you're in the office and you feel that pressure. It's an illusion of energy. Like when you observe a particle, the double slit experiment, it knows wherever you are in the world if you're observing it. So if you can't see your boss there, just know that he knows if something's going on. And even if you can't see him, the feeling of what if he finds out is the reason why you keep following and do things correctly. And that is why a leader needs to be at the top who has the most dominant energy. And often they're the most positive because the higher the energy, the more force, the more love and energy, like loving cubs fighting off a male lion attacking the cubs. It's the spectrum of energy, like a vocal box. The higher you can sing, the deeper your voice is. It's not, oh, well, the deeper your voice, higher you
Yeah.
can't sing. No, because it's the vocal box that is stretched so much that it goes as far that way as that way and as far that way as the other way, you know?
Yeah, 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 definitely, and definitely true. Because what happens is that when you see a model of a pyramid in which the leader has lots of energy, but it's not a positive one, it's all about spreading fear and spreading sanctions. If you do this, if you don't do this, it eventually collapses, or people keep on going out, and you need to bring more energy in and bring more action taken in. But when you put that leader who has high levels of energy, even in a family household, it does not need to be just an example of a company. When you have parents or just one of the parents who's the family leader and he has that energy of, look, I trust you 100% and you are responsible 100% of your actions and I love you 100% no matter what you do, you have that illusion of their presence wherever you are. Wherever you are. I used to have that a lot with my father. He was not a dominant father. He was not a father who beat his kids, even though we were in a community where that was allowed. He was not a father who was a dictator. But I remember wherever I was, I had his voice in my head saying, you can do this. You are responsible of your actions 100%. And that to me was more challenging than seeing my friends who they sneak out to do things. And then what's most important for them, I don't need him to see me, because to me, he was everywhere with me. My father's eyes, they were everywhere. And even just the thought of him looking at me doing that something that I know deep down I'm not supposed to be doing, that made me shit my pants. And I switch the shifting and I do what I really know I need to do. So that example is totally true. A leader is not about spreading fear. when you are in that position that everybody's responsible, you know, you got me here, everybody is responsible for their own actions, but I am here. If shit happens, that is a good example to be portraying out there.
Exactly the same as my dad. He was there when he wasn't there. Like if I was thinking about smoking or drinking, I'd
Yeah.
feel him looking at me, and therefore it will be a no. If I lied once, I'd feel so guilty. The fact that now when he asks me like where have I been, and I say, oh, I've been at a friend's house when I haven't. I couldn't
Yeah.
even go out because of the conversation that hasn't even happened yet that I knew would happen. Then I'd have to lie, and that feeling of you either lie or you don't create that situation, so you don't need to lie. Like he was there
Mm-hmm.
even though he wasn't there. Things like, once you lose control, you've lost control, meant that
Mm-hmm.
every time I was in a situation where I had to be responsible, I'd hear that feeling of if you lose control, you've lost control. So I'd never actually do it. As you said, like just he's there when he's not there, and that's what a great leader is, where you you admire what they're saying, but that you are responsible. So you're not there all the time babysitting them. You're not punishing. You're disappointed afterwards, and that
Mm-hmm.
disappointment is so powerful that you are already in line. So that disappointment never happens because of how it
Mm-hmm.
would feel if it did happen. And it's the same with my dad. Has all the knowledge, had all the knowledge and the wisdom. He was there even though he wasn't there. And that's what I was always the person at school who never fitted in because they had no father figures in their life. They were just fucking
Exactly.
loose cats all over the place. And whereas my
Yeah.
dad was there and I felt him saying, no, we shouldn't do this. And I never did any of that. I never broke into places or stole stuff or smoked or drunk
Yeah.
because of that feeling of how would I explain this if he asked? So I never
Mm-hmm.
went down that path. And yeah, it's very similar with my father. Yeah.
That's amazing. That's a beautiful example. And it goes. This is definitely the way that, since you were educated that way, this is definitely the way you are going to be working with your teams in your own company that you mentioned. Just in our interactions, I have noticed it. You are someone of your you honor your word. You do your things the way that you're supposed to do. The communication is very open and honest, and that reflects a lot of how you grew up. Some people get to change that, but the easiest way is that you were primed to that from the very, very get-go. And I can see it in some humans in general when, for example, just your friends, when they decide, let's go, like, I mean, before quarantine, there is always that someone who's always giving excuses, coming late. And you see that attitude. It's not about just coming and meeting friends. That spreads all over. That spreads in their job. That spreads in their integrity. That spreads in their relationships in general. So it's interesting to see how a good deed spreads to all the areas and you get to do and be good all the way, and how a bad deed can also spread. So it's all up to us to choose which one we want to give more power to.
As you know, right, when you are the person who's different, for example, you go into your new job, right? All the colleagues know that you are getting paid more because you negotiated, whatever, and they see you as different, the black sheep. So they talk about you behind your back, not necessarily in a bad way, but
Yeah,
they
yeah.
talk about you. It's just all people do. They talk about the black sheep, right? Because they're not the same. When I
Mm-hmm.
was at my restaurant company, I was around loads of like 16, 17-year-olds. And at that stage, you're talking about people because you're trying to fit in and you don't fit in.
Yeah.
So but what's interesting is that because I was even on their level with a 16-year-old, and I was say 23 could run the whole fucking company. Okay, I find that if people don't know you, they will naturally be part of that bitchy conversation. But if they know you individually and somebody brings up
Mm-hmm.
your name, they will be reluctant to speak about you because you already have that one-on-one respect
Yeah.
um, dynamic between you. For example,
Mm-hmm.
I would have an individual relationship with each individual person who I know collectively would talk about me. But because we have a one on one relationship, they don't want to feel they are speaking about me because then they feel like they betrayed me. It can't explain it. It's a feeling that if I'm speaking to
True.
them and I'm saying, would you like some free food? I bought you this gift. How about, would you like a drink? They will feel guilty, the fact that I'm offering them a drink, if they know they've just been bitching about me. So what I used to do
True.
is I used to double down on that. If I knew some people were speaking about me, I'd be more nice. I'd offer them more drinks. I'd bring
Love
them
that.
a free sandwich. I'd be really nice to them so that when they would be in a situation where that negative prick speaks about me, they wouldn't. And so now you develop a one-on-one relationship. You feel like this father figure kind of. I don't want him to think that I've been speaking about him. I don't want it to get around that I've been bitching about them. And do you know what's amazing is that I know people used to always speak about me. It never, ever, ever got back to me, ever. Why? Because each individual person who was in that group speaking about me, I had a one-on-one relationship to the point where they, I was friends with them individually, even though as a group I was the black sheep. But it never got back to me because it would only ever get back to me through somebody else. But I was always friends with them. So it never leaked. It's phenomenal because when you think about how
Yeah.
things do get back, it never, ever, ever got back to me because individually I was tight with each person. Do you know what I mean? That's really powerful. It never
Yeah.
got back to me, even though I knew they were speaking about me. Not necessarily in a bad way, just he's really weird. Why does he always do that? Like, why does he always come in an hour early? Because I never was late once. Why does he, like, always speak back to the management when all those little robots just follow? Like, why? Never got back to me because of the father figure that wasn't even there. That I was there
Yeah.
even though I wasn't there because of now when I speak to him, I feel guilty that I've been bitching about him. And so they would never put themselves in a situation to speak bad. So they would never have that guilt. And it's phenomenal. That feeling of just you're responsible for your actions. I'm giving you free will. I'm going to serve and love you, but
Hmm.
you are on your own and it's up to you. If you're talking about me, it's not nothing to do with me, it's to do with you. You know, really, it's powerful.
Yeah, definitely. And it's like you have made this standard. Whenever you are with one of them, personally, this conversation is just going to be about let's rise each other. I'm going to give you value. I am going to be giving you the decision not to speak about anything that is negative because I do not speak about other people as well. And lots of people, they speak about gossip, if you are speaking about gossip in here, or negative thoughts. It's when you allow the conversation to happen at first, you already kind of made a contract. In this environment between you and me, we accept that. But you, in your own example, it's like from the get go. I don't care about those bitchy conversations. I am here for you. Let's get lunch. Let's have fun. Let's speak about good stuff. And my energy is this way. You protected your energy. Therefore, you protected the energy of that beautiful conversation. So I love that. Yeah.
And also, what is also amazing is that when I used to sit on the table and people used to gossip about other people, again, it was the same thing in reverse. Because I was friends with these people individually, I never became part of that gossip. So it'll be like,
Yeah.
Paul, he's so weird. He's always got greasy hair, like he stinks. Because I had a relationship with Paul, and I would realize that Paul
Yeah.
is actually struggling financially and he doesn't have the money to buy deodorant and stuff. I had a
Yeah.
reason for why he used to smell, whereas they're bitching about him because they don't know why he smells. It's almost like saying,
True.
why is that person so angry? And you realize his father's died from cancer. Like there's always a reason
Yeah.
why someone is the way that they are. And because I always know
True.
this, I always get to know people, so I understand why they are like they are. So I would never bitch about people um, when people would bitch about them. And ironically, bitching never happened to me. Probably because I never bitched back. I absorbed, I listened, I just acknowledged, but I never spewed it out. Because then what happens is that that person will say, "Well, Oliver said this about Paul," and then Paul hears it, and then Paul comes back to me and he says, "Why did you say that about me?" And I go, "Well, I didn't say that. I said this," and I have to justify how I said it like this, but it came out like this,
Yeah.
and there's toxic energy. So actually, one of the reasons why it never got back to me is probably because I heard gossip, I cut it. I killed the cancer immediately, and I didn't speak about it, which means there was
Hmm.
nothing going out where my words could be twisted and therefore come back to me in the wrong way. So actually, that was probably why it never got back to me because I never put it out, and it always stopped. The buck stopped with me, you know. That's probably actually
Yeah.
why,
Yeah.
more than I mean, it's a bit of both. Okay, if you have that individual
True.
relationship,
Yeah.
they don't speak
Yeah.
about you, but it never got back to me because I never spoke about them. So it's like, how can you bitch about someone who's not bitching about you? It's like, why would you intentionally be horrible to somebody who's done nothing to you? So I think it is that balance of don't put it out and don't allow it to come back. Is yeah, yeah.
Yeah, that's true. It's like the first level when you do the one-on-one conversations, you are saying no to judgment and expectation, and you decide to understand who's the person behind what I see as an image. And then the second level is that when you want an energy to grow, you fuel it. In your case, since it's a negative energy, you decided, nope, I'm gonna cut it out. I don't want to fuel that energy anymore. And the flame is gonna slowly, slowly get away. So that's a beautiful example that could be applied anywhere, everywhere, in every single situation. And I agree with that.
See, I used to love this, right? I used to work at a restaurant. There's like, 30 members of staff. I used to go around each member of staff and offer them, would you like a drink? And I'm supposed
Wow.
to be clearing tables, right? And sitting people down. Okay, but instead I'm serving the staff. I'm offering if they want drinks. So now they can't talk about me because I've served them. I've done something nice for them. And you can't talk about someone if they've done something good. So now what happens is somebody will be like, oh, he's so weird. Why does he do that? And they'll be like, oh, it's just Oliver. Like, what else do you say? That's just what he's like. So what else can you do? So counteracting the negative with a super, super positive cuts
Mm,
any negativity from manifesting and growing completely.
love
Because
that.
now it's like, oh, he's actually a really nice person. Yeah, but if you get to know him, he's really nice. So it's kind of like mind manipulation because you know the power of being positive, especially to a negative person. What's very interesting is that when you know that person's been bitching about you, but they don't know that you know they've been bitching about you, and you're giving them free drinks and offering them free food and stuff, they feel guilty. So now they offer you drinks, and you know they've only offered you drinks because they need to let their own guilt kind of they need to remove their own guilt. So now they offer you if
Mm,
you want a drink, and then you say no, but thank you so much for asking. I really appreciate you asking me. You counteract the positive again and again and again. And now they don't judge you because you have that connection of service. And this is what happens these days is no one's serving each other. They're just
mhm.
judging someone on a small trait out of billions, and that's just
Yeah.
made up of that person. And it's like that's just a small trait of that person, and yet you're that's like the basis of how you see that person. And there's so many different traits, and then they've got their family that's loving, and they've got a dog and a cat and a baby, and you think, wow, they're just like another human being. And yet I judged them on that
Yeah.
one thing that they did. Yeah, got to have healing and empathy for people.
That's interesting. That's interesting. This reminds me of a quote that says, if serving is beneath you, then leadership is beyond you. It's definitely it, because lots of people, they think of leadership as me in the power situation. And no, if I want to be good, people need to do good things to me. Well, first of all, be the example of what you want to receive, the thing that you have been doing. Give and give and give and serve other people. And it's very interesting. There is this little of a situation that happened to me very, very recently with a brother of mine, that we actually reignited the relationship between us. And I slipped to his eyes. I slipped, but he didn't want to understand the reasons behind that, because he's on the defense kind of situation. We are just getting back into the relationship. And I'm very open about this because relationships are a work in progress your whole life, even with your siblings. So he decided to jump on the defense. He shut off his phone. He cut me on. He didn't want to talk to me. He blocked me and everything. And I was like, it's all right. I could have done the same thing because in my own perspective, I did something good. It's just that he didn't understand it. So I was like, okay, there is a big flame right now. Let's leave it to rest a little bit. And then the other day, I sent him a voice message. I didn't even pressure him. And I said, look, you are my brother, regardless of anything that happens. If you don't want to speak with me now, I'm going to jump in front of your house and I'm going to speak with you. I need to see you. I need you. So it's the opposite way. It's not, lots of people, what they do is that they expect other people to understand, oh no, you need me in your life and you are going to be the loser if I am up. No, I need you. I need my brother in my life. I need to see your kids. I need to see you and spend time with you. So if I slipped, I am really, really sorry. And I express my sorrow and I say I'm sorry right now. Lots of people, they have a very, very heavy weight on saying I am sorry. I don't care. I say I'm sorry if that's what the person needs to hear at first, to lower their barrier and be accepting and understanding and are able to listen to you. Because the first conversation, he didn't even let me finish a sentence. He didn't want to hear anything because in his own mind, he needed to go full on me, say whatever he has to say, and then, okay, let's block everything. And after a while, he called me. He was like, "I'm sorry, I got the phone off. Here are my reasons." And we were in a conversation kind of mode instead of him trying to go on a monologue. And it got cured. Everything is going back to normal. He understood the reasoning. But at first, you need to be the person probably playing the bigger role and say, it's all right. You need to understand them because we do not have the same perspective. And this plays a lot in energy as well.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not focusing on, for example, you have to be present, but it's not always focusing on the present. So, for example, you ultimately want to fix a relationship, but by trying to do too much work now is going to push them away. So you've got to think,
True.
okay, I wouldn't normally let him rant and talk to me like that, but he's got to vent
True.
and get it out. He needs to feel like he's been heard. You just have to listen and
Definitely.
shut your mouth so he can get his own energy out, so he raises his own vibration. And then next time he's on a higher level of vibration. So you've got to think, okay, I want to get here. You need to be present, but in order to get there to be present, I need to go into the future and see what has to happen. So you go back in steps and think, okay,
Mm-hmm.
well, how is this going to work? And as you said at the beginning, it's about you getting your voice out, he gets his voice out, and then there's an argument. So the wise person knows that he has to get his voice out and you have to say nothing and then respond.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not about you, it's about him speaking. And then as you respond, he will then get triggers and then he'll speak more. It's not up for you to say, no, it's my turn, shut up and listen. There's going to be argument.
Yeah.
You then have
Yeah.
to stop, step down, let him step up, say what he needs to say. And then when
Mm-hmm.
he said it, you step up, and then he probably will step up again. But for the first time ever, he's spoken his thoughts, probably like 10 years worth of thoughts in 20
Mm-hmm.
minutes when he's never ever spoken for a minute. So the power
True.
of speaking, this is why my podcast is so powerful for me and the other person, because it's not about necessarily sharing knowledge, interview style. It's about just speaking
Yeah.
your thoughts, me listening, you feeling you are being heard. It heals you. At the same time, we learn knowledge. It's a mixture of healing by giving someone the opportunity to speak for an hour when in the real world, a husband doesn't have time to listen to the wife speaking for an hour. The brother, the sister, friends do not. And
Yeah.
when you think about what people speak about. It's just bollocks. It's bitchiness. It's stuff on the TV. It's about this person did this. There's no value whatsoever. Everyone's dying to be heard and they're getting angry. So by speaking out loud about your thoughts, it's not about, oh, all about you. Be speaking for 15 minutes and I speak. It's not about that. It's about being heard, the power of being heard for self-healing. And you learn when you speak things you didn't realize just by speaking until it comes to an end. And it's not about, okay, you've been speaking for 10, shut up. You finish when you feel heard and I listen.
Mm-hmm.
And the conversation naturally goes up and it naturally dies down. And that is energy building up, it's being released. And it's that exchange of bringing you both to the next level, which is why the wise person is the one who leads, because it's not about the knowledge. The wise
Mm-hmm.
person knows how to implement the knowledge where they learn it and they understand the structure, whereas the knowledge is about telling them why they should be here and expecting them to know. The wisdom person tells them that, but make sure they understand why they are here. And somebody said the other day, there's a difference between wisdom and knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
As you said, your little quote a minute ago, whatever you said, I can't remember, is very true, very powerful.
Yeah, that's interesting. A lot of that's really beautiful. I didn't even notice the energy that we were bringing this beautiful conversation in with, because it is something that I always respect. A conversation that is this fluid and the vibration just going very smoothly without anybody trying to lead the conversation to any direction. We went from animals to speaking about tribes to speaking about leadership, and now we're speaking about family and conversations. And I agree with you. This is very interesting to see happening in the real world. Lots of people nowadays in quarantine, they are blaming this situation because probably they have never had that much time with their family, and they're feeling frustrated. They don't know what to say. Well, first thing probably you could do is shut down that TV and take off the phone and have a real conversation, get to understand them, get to see the people who are in front of you, get to even play with your kids. This is a beautiful opportunity, but lots of people are seeing it more of a threat than an opportunity.
Yeah, that's the thing, right? In energy in the universe, right? You've just got mass attracting to bigger vibrations. So you've got, say, frequency 6.6. the energy 6.2, 6.3, 6.4, right? As soon as it gets to 6.5 and 6.6, it attracts. It becomes one. So the small energies are always going up in mass, and it keeps going. Conversation just connects and flows. For example, often when you speak to people, you get a trigger in your head, and now you can't wait to speak, and you're not listening anymore
Yeah.
because you suddenly got an idea, and then you're waiting to say the idea. So the secret to listening is just follow what they're saying. When they finish, the thing you thought about probably won't ever happen again. You won't even remember what you were thinking. But
Yeah.
something will come to you when they finish. That will link to the next thing. And in terms of the energy and stars, it's that 6.4, 6.5, 6.6. You finish in your conversation and you stop at 6.6. I then take over at 6.6 and I go 6.7, 6.8, 6.9, 7. And then you start at 7. We continue the conversation and it flows because a conversation is sound, sound is energy, energy just keeps going up. That's why you don't need to write topics and plan stuff, because it just flows. Like back in our parents' days, grandparents' days, no TV, no radio, no nothing. What do you think they used to do? They just spoke about what? Anything. It doesn't have to be about anything. It just flows. Like, look at that tree. Did you see that tree down the road? It's very similar, yeah. It's funny about trees. It looks like a bird, yeah. And then you feel so fulfilled when you speak. Just speak. Like, you feel so fulfilled when you speak. It's just, people don't exercise, so they're not tired when they go to bed. People don't speak. They're on an office all day. They're in their own head. They know what to do. They're not releasing any physical energy. They're using brain energy, but there's no energy being released. And then they go home and they're in the gym by themselves. They're not speaking. Everyone's autistic. They can't speak to anyone anymore. So they're
Yeah.
not raising their energy. So they go to bed and the brain's active because they've not released like what we're doing now, brain stimulation of energy from thoughts we thought about during the day or last week. And it's not going anywhere. It's just fucking building up. And it's often negative thoughts, so it's negative energy, and it needs to be released. And I feel tired. I sleep very well when I podcast because my brain has it's just been using energy. Like I sleep very well. And if I don't podcast, my brain needs to be doing something because I've got so much energy.
Oh yeah, that's really interesting. I received the same comment yesterday. I fell asleep while I was watching a TV show with my sister, and when I wake up today, she was like, "You didn't do anything like spectacular. You didn't even work out." I was like, "Oh no, I was really really working out. I did 1 hour lives. I was speaking with people. I was really having so much energy." But it's like a contrast. Not everybody sees you getting out and just interacting with people as a real activity, which is interesting.
Yeah, obviously, our energy, our brain uses the most amount of energy, right, in our body. So thinking, sitting on your bed, thinking about fucking everything in the past and the future, the present, is the reason why you're so tired. You can't do anything. So your sister's been like, you haven't done anything. You'd be like, listen, in my head, I've been planning the next week, planning live streams, planning how to do
Yeah.
this. That requires brain stimulation, which requires physical energy. That's why I fell asleep. And people think, you're only tired if you do physical stuff. No, we're more tired. Like I could walk 2 hours and have all the brain energy in the world, and I could think for an hour, and I'm fucking knackered, right? To the point where I can't
Yeah.
even move. So people underestimate the power the brain has in the body, and it needs to be charged. So meditation's so great because I've started to meditate more now because I used to meditate for 3-4 hours at night time from 11 at night time to 3 in the morning because I used to speak to my
Wow.
grandma's spirit who, when I was going through an awakening, I believe she came for me and I was speaking to her spirit. Really, the voice was me, not my grandma, but I had to be so calm and relaxed in a filter state of vibration to hear any knocks and sounds and flickers and whatever to see
Yeah.
she was here, that I realize now that waiting for her to make a sound was in pure meditation. 4 hours, like every night for a year. And that was why
Wow.
my brain power was so enormous, because when you're in that state of vibration, you've got so much energy all day that when you think about a thought, it's magnified. And I used to think about people when I would see them, and I'd make my Mac turn on at night time. Like my Mac would turn on, the same Mac I'm using now, because it was grandma in the Mac turning it on to show me she was here. But really, it was me
Yeah.
focusing on the Mac. thinking she would come, and my own energy, my own brainwaves turned on the Mac, and it used to come on. I used to hold that vibration, hold that frequency, and then let it go, and the Mac would shut down, and the TV used to click. So yeah, power of meditation, and I didn't need much sleep either because I was always in meditative states. You can sleep during the day by meditating because meditating is basically your brain sleeping whilst you're awake.
True.
So when you
Yeah,
meditate,
yeah.
there's sleep, which is I'm really seeing the benefits. I've been doing it for like 2 weeks now. I've also been playing 528 binaural pure tone whilst I have a shower, and that vibration is really doing amazing stuff to me. And I used to do all this when I was enlightened 7 years ago, but then I stopped because you become enlightened and then you start to just
Yeah.
stop doing your practices and you realize that was why I felt so good. So now I go on walks and I meditate. I do my gratitude stuff, which I stopped doing because I feel like I've made it, so I don't need to anymore. But it really grounds.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's beautiful to mention. I do take time for my meditation and gratitude in the morning because those 30 minutes to sometimes 1 hour or 2 hours, they make my day. When I don't do that, my day is definitely not going to have the same energy throughout. And it's something that you need to start doing in order to experience it. Because when people around me see me now, they don't see the same version of myself they used to see a year ago and 2 years ago. But they kind of think that, okay, you just really, really believe in it. I'm like, I'm not even gonna be like trying to fight you in order for you to understand the benefits. Do it, you will understand it. It's not about me explaining it to you because it's a unique experience from one person to the other. But yeah, meditation, gratitude, very, very good keys in a beautiful life.
Um, it's phenomenal what I used to be like years ago. Like, and then I had
Mm,
to work on myself. It is phenomenal. If people saw me at school, what I was like then, what I was now, it literally is like they wouldn't know me because often they're probably the
mm,
same
mm,
people because most people are the same. I am literally, I've gone from like some, I've gone from, I can't explain, like Satan to God. It's just like no comparison. But yeah, meditation is you do see changes. Like I listen to YouTube videos when I go to sleep, and last night I listened to one, and he was speaking about how people meditate. They do it for like 5 minutes. It doesn't work. The brain has to
yeah.
go from say alpha to beta to theta, right? And you stay in
Mm,
theta for X amount of time, where you naturally stop thinking. Like you have to go through those transitions, and that's where the power happens. And I
mm,
listened to him say it about that process and how he can then amplify one thought, and it's so amplified in a theta frequency as opposed to like the alpha whatever, that that's when the magic happens. And I realized that that's what used to happen to me years ago that I stopped doing, and I'm now getting back into because oh man, it's powerful.
mm-hmm. Definitely. Well, welcome back to that beautiful person that you used to know before.
Do you want to speak about anything else before we let this die down naturally?
Not necessarily. I feel that I am fulfilled into this conversation. It was really beautiful, and thank you for having me.
Do you want to plug any social medias, websites, any projects you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. If any person listening to this podcast would like to get now to priming themselves, I have this beautiful program. It's all about self-empowerment, and we go into lots of things that we have spoken about today, starting the 15th May. So if any of you are interested, you can find me on Instagram, Smile and Slay, or you can find me on Facebook, Sabir, Samahe, Sabir. And if not, just come and chit chat. I would like to have and serve you in any way possible.
Okay, I'm going to stop this call right there and I'll say goodbye.